Okay, I'm Steve,
I'm Angie.
and we are serving.
Camps.
Yes, okay. Presently, right now, we are in transition. We're in Ohio. This is our second take, and we're hoping that the microphone is unmuted like I hopefully did. And, okay, you guys didn't really need to know that, but one of the things we go through. And so this episode is going to be talking about how we plan over the last 8.5, 9 years. And it's been being refined year after year, hopefully getting better, although we are human and we do make mistakes. Was that a disclaimer or just a yes, we do make mistakes. We don't cook steaks, so we don't make mistakes, just mistakes.
Move on.
Okay, enough of that. So our planning, obviously, because we grew up in the north and both tend to want to be in the south for warmer weather during when it's cold in the north, is generally spending summers in the south and winters in the north because
No.
Did I say that wrong? Summers in the north.
Winters
in the south. Okay, it's a good thing that she's here. Well, you guys get the idea.
We stay away from snow. Try.
Snow means cold, and cold means icing. Yeah, and we don't want our pipes to freeze. So that tends to help our seasonal changes planning. What also helps our planning is family. We have family in the north and we have family in the south and family all over, but generally we try and plan on being in the areas where the major part of our family is for a period of time so that we can visit them. Yeah. So, with that said, Angie's going to tell you guys about our book. Some of you have seen it, some of you haven't. It's a 3-ring binder.
Our book looks like this.
It's a 3-ring binder.
It's a 3-ring binder, and basically what we do is we print out the calendars. I get those off of Microsoft Office's website. Calendar templates, I think is what they're under. And I'll print out a year at a time. And what we will do is we make a list of people we want to see, places we want to go, camps we want to be at, and we'll start with the largest block of time first and plug those in to our calendar. So for example, we usually spend October, November, December at Tejas. And so we will plug in when we're going to arrive and when we're going to leave for Tejas. We'll plug in based on where we want to go, the other camps that we want to serve at. We might throw in some new ones because there might be new states that we haven't seen. Of course, we're down to 2 that we haven't seen, and they're little ones. Delaware and Rhode Island. All the other states we've been to at least once. So, things like that. If you're somebody that wants to see all the states in the lower 48, it's a great thing to do, and you can use the CCCA website to find camps to serve at while you're in those states. That'll keep your costs down. So we'll put in the largest blocks of time first. Then we'll start filling in the in-between times, our transition times from the north to the south and the south to the north. What directions do we want to go when we're going from one camp to the next? Or, for example, this summer we're on our way to Michigan. We'll be in Michigan for May and June. And then July will be Minnesota, where we originally came from, so we have a lot of family and friends. So we'll spend most of the month of July in Minnesota. And then August and part of September, we will be in Rapid City, South Dakota, before we start heading south. So in doing this, we will look at during the transition times, we use boondocking spots. We use coast to coast a lot for campgrounds that we can stay at for little or no fee. That's part of the reason when we talked about campground memberships, the importance of them is that by having those memberships, you can go from place to place without having to pay any additional fees. In Minnesota, we had a campground that we normally were at for 2 or 3 weeks. And in doing this planning routine that we have, we found out that that campground was closed during the time that we were going to be there, because it's not really closed, it's under construction. So instead of the normal 200 sites that they have, they were down to 40 sites, and those were all booked by seasonal people. So we had to find someplace else. Well, by doing this planning and knowing when to make our reservations, because that's one of the things that we do, is when we figure out the campground, if it's coast to coast, I'll say, okay, I got to back up 60 days so I know what date to make the reservation, and I'll write it on the calendar. Make reservation for Tres Rios, or make reservation for this other campground, or the different campgrounds that we're going to be at. And so by doing that, we knew well in advance that, hey, we need to find a different campground. Minnesota is one of them that we have to actually pay for our campground, because there isn't much in Minneapolis area. So that took a lot of additional work. But, by middle of March, we had a place. So we know where we're going. It's just an important process. As we get closer, we will contact people and, say, hey, last year we talked about being in your area in July. Are those dates still going to work? They may or they may not. The calendars are always changing. People's things that they're doing are always changing. Life causes changes. And the most important one is God will cause changes to our calendar. I don't know if you noticed it, but this calendar is always done in pencil, and we give God the eraser.
Wait, did you say we give God the eraser?
Well, God has the eraser.
Thank you. Let's put it in a better perspective.
Yeah.
We don't give God anything.
Yeah. Well, we give him our service.
We give him our service, and we give him his glory. Well,
yeah, our love and his. Yeah.
Okay. So, the main thing about the book is the book allows us to look ahead 12 months or more and write down our thoughts and our plans. And as the months go by, when it's like halfway through 6 months, we can revisit the book and go deeper into it. And as it goes even closer, we even revisit even more. So, as Angie said, it's done in pencil, it's on paper, but it does change.
Yep.
So part of the position that I have in transportation is taking what is down on paper and the locations and trying to route the route in such a way that we are doing it in the best costly manner and making sure that we have overnight stops. We tend to try and keep to about 250 or less miles per day. It just makes it easier in life to do that. So some of the apps that we use is one of the newer ones that we have is called RV Life. There is a subscription for it. So there is a cost, but in the last year and a half, I've used that as our router. That gives me a chance to plug in the where we're at, where we're going, the fuel stops that we need, and just tells us the mileage and everything else, and different stops, different places along the way. Another one that we've used many years is Park Advisor. Park Advisor has been out there for quite some time. It is free, and it is one that gives us some spots that are boondock friendly,
low-cost campgrounds,
like city parks, that sort of thing that maybe RV Life doesn't quite have. And it's a one that, like I said, we used prior to RV Life, and I often use it to go back and make sure that RV Life is doing what it's supposed to do. The other one is, like I said, fuel stops. Gas Buddy. I use that to make sure that we have fuel stops that are along the way. Generally, before we pull in for the night, I like to top off the tank, and so we try and look ahead and see where the best low fuel price stations are within the area that we're going to stop at. Sometimes it changes, and so we have to change with it.
And along with that, we also use an app called Upside, because that app we double check that against Gas Buddies to see if the place that we want to go to for fuel may have an additional discount that we can get back. 10, 15, 20 cents.
Every bit counts.
Every little bit counts, and when you're filling a 100-gallon tank,
well,
not that we fill it at 100 gallons at a time, but, keeping it full.
Every bit counts.
It is costly. The other thing that Steve didn't mention about RV Life is that you can plug in the size of your rig for height and for weight, and it'll keep you away from
low bridges
and weight-restricted roads. So that's one of the positive things about it that we like, is then we don't have to worry about going down a road and not knowing if there's a low bridge or something that we have to try and figure out how to turn around.
So those are just some of the few things that we use.
Yep.
So Angie will give the ending.
So planning is a big part of being a full-timer. Some people do it 6 months at a time, some people wing it, but we like to know in advance kind of where we're going. Like we said, things can change. You never know when there's construction on the road, or a storm, something like that will cause us to have to route someplace else. But we're pretty sure of the path that we're going on when we leave, and we hope for the best, and we hope that we have no breakdowns or anything, but the planning does help. Thanks. Hope this was beneficial. Like us, share us with your friends, and of course subscribe to our YouTube channel so that you get notifications. Have a great day, and we'll see you again.
No, bye.
Goodbye.